We're here all night.
Okay, back to education spending. I know you've both touched on how you feel about that subject, but does the Department of Education need reform, and how would you do it?
Kick her right out. I hate the Department of Education. Sorry, my wife's over there. She's going to hate me for saying that, but she's an educator in Henrico, and we've been discussing this over the years. She's been in education for over 25 years, and we've been to poor districts, we've been to rich districts, and we see where the money's being spent. And the Department of Education is not doing it. They need something to change it, and we need to get the teachers, the people that are in the front lines, to come up and tell us, how do you get the high-performing teachers to move into the low-performing schools? That's what we need. We need that kind of thought process, and how do we get money into the underperforming schools and then not into the overperforming schools? We want to even it out so it's even play field. Right here in Henrico, okay? On the east side, they built a school, Elko, on Elko Road, Elko Middle School, 3 years ago. And now they just built Pullman up there on the west side. You go look at the two schools and you tell me that was even. Those schools are drastically different. They have internet and everything you can imagine up at Holman. And down in Elko, they're still waiting to get their water turned on. Well, that's a little exaggeration, but they waited a year to get real water out there. So there's a disparity here in the district, and we need to change that. We need to have a thought process where we get the money where it's needed, not where politicians want to line their pockets.
The problem with the Department of Education is that you got a bunch of people making about $177,000 a year for a do-nothing job up in Washington, D.C., who think that they can create a universal policy for some kid over in Brooklyn, New York that's going to be the same needs as a kid in Anchorage, Alaska, as another one over in Aberdeen, Texas, and that you can go ahead and somehow create a universal rubber stamp for each one of those kids in each one of those different cultures in each one of those local communities. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's the most ridiculous thought on paper you can even conceive. The Department of Education needs to go. We need the decision-making process back to teachers and individuals if possible. I'll accept localities and states if needed.
We still have 30 minutes of this.
Sweet.
We're going through it fast.
Oh yeah, you guys are burning through my ideas really fast here. So
That's all right.
the
Operate.
immigration. Where would you go with immigration reform? Everyone agrees that something must be done. Would you go looser or tighter? And how would you accomplish that?
Well, most people here know I want to take the troops away from Iraq and Afghanistan and from the 130 countries we're in and bring them back home. But I think not only does that allow us to reconsolidate our forces, it allows us to free up the National Guard to actually go along the border and protect it. So we need to actually protect and seal off our southern border. What that would do for us is, if we seal the southern border, is it would actually allow us to actually get a handle on the situation. You can't say, well, we'll just turn them back and have an open border, and then have them just keep on coming back, like a wheel. You have to close the border before you actually try to solve the issue. And I'd say close the border first. There's tens of millions of illegal immigrants in the country right now. It's a lot easier to go after the people who are employing them, so go after the people who are employing them knowingly, and basically penalize them. And the third thing is, we have to realize that the federal government wants illegal immigrants in this country because the federal government benefits from them. There was a report in the Washington Post that said that illegal immigrants who come in, they get a fake Social Security card and they find employment in this country. And what the federal government does is they tax them for basically their allotted Social Security taxation that happens, and it actually ends up propping the Social Security system. But the thing is that they never see the benefits because they can't prove that they're legally here. So what the federal government has ended up being is the biggest exploiter of the illegal immigrants in this country.
Here's where we differ. No paperwork for people. I want paperwork for people. So this is the problem. We have illegal immigrants coming in. They get fake IDs. So if we have a national ID, I'm not for national ID. If we had a national ID, it would make it easier for the government to do it. I'm not for national ID. I'm not for a national ID. I'm just saying what James is saying. He doesn't believe in paperwork for people. I believe you need paperwork for people, driver's license, and you need to get legally and you need to check it. The employers need to be checked on getting in. I lived, like I said before, in New Mexico. I lived in Texas. I know about these problems. I lived through it. I saw it daily when I was living there. It's a problem. I walked across the Rio Grande. You know, it's just this deep, right? Where you look in here. It's easy to get across, and it's a large. You can't imagine how long that border is. And even bringing the troops home to take care of it, we don't have enough. We don't have enough troops. What we need to do is enforce the laws that we have now that are on our books and allow the police, the state troopers, to have reasonable suspicion and to talk to people and to make sure that they have the proper license to be in the country. I mean, we can do that at the border and we can check it. It's just, it's going to be difficult. I mean, we can't just seal it up. It just won't happen down there. I believe that everyone should come here legally. My sisters came over from Korea, and we went through the adoption process. They waited in line to get here. I have lots of friends when I grew up that waited in line to get here, and we need to enforce those laws to make sure everybody has their fair shake and not overwhelm our systems that we have here for health care, the Social Security system, the taxes that we have to pay. It's a big problem. It is a huge problem that we need to really look carefully at before we jump in.